Futurists and foresight professionals usually have a domain we call a domain that they study in more than others. We tend to be generalists. We know a lot about the future of science and technology, about demography, about the environment, but each of us usually has a domain in which we focus more than the other domains. Some take on healthcare, some take on technology, some take on business. My own particular domain is education and the future of education. The future of education is an extremely interesting domain because, for the one part, it has not changed a lot even over the last 100 years. The public education in most countries was created in the late part of the 19th century in order to respond to the needs of people for works and career. Obviously, before that time, most people were farmers or artisans or craftsmen, in which they learned their trade, largely from their parents or their neighbors, and there was very little need for even reading and writing and mathematical calculation, for reading lots of books and doing lots of analysis. The Industrial Revolution, however, changed that need, and people needed to then read instruction manuals, and they needed to be organized in their work, to work in the factories and the offices of the 20th century. And that form of education that we have today, ones where students go to school and they live through a schedule and they learn various subjects and get credits and graduate, was an extremely productive and extremely effective system of education. The problem, of course, is that the Industrial Revolution has already occurred, and a new form of society is emerging, one in which the rate of change is increasing, and therefore the needs of students are increasing as well. Students today don't need to know so much. They can look up a great deal on the internet almost instantaneously, but they need to be able to do more, and do more things that are not necessarily computers are not necessarily good at. They need to do things like problem solving and communication. They need to work and influence with others. They need to be critical thinkers, and they need to be able to scope out a project and conduct and achieve objectives that, frankly, their bosses and their teachers have never seen before or have, don't know how to do. So we have to educate a generation of people in what we call these higher order thinking or 21st century thinking skills. The problem for education, of course, is that teachers and schools don't know very well how to do that. They know how to do the traditional form of education and not so much the other form, but we are now beginning to see the emergence of new forms of education that will be suited to this century as opposed to the last.